Alright, welcome to the second episode of the Be Bold podcast. Coming since last episode, the Cubs have lost maybe one game and the Sox have won one game. Really tough scene in Chicago baseball for Sox fans right now, but I keep saying it and I'll continue to say it, 2020 baby. Before I get into anything Chicago related, I want to talk about Tyreek Hill. I think it's incredible, not the good incredible, but just incredibly stupid that the NFL isn't going to suspend Tyreek Hill. There is literally a recording of this man telling his baby mama to I don't even remember exactly. I should have the quote here, but I don't. The quote is something along the lines of I want the kid to be scared of me and you should be scared of me too, bitch. That is insane. There's no place in our world for shit like that, and when you hear that coming out of an athlete's mouth, how can you let him back on your football team? How can you let him back in your league? Is it because he catches a lot of touchdowns and he's good for ratings? If that was an end-of-the-bench guy, is he not going to get suspended? The NFL is a shady fucking place. A shady place. But let's get back on track with Chicago. The Cubs, like I said in last episode, I knew this baseball team would be fine. They're so talented. Look at their lineup, up and down. I don't love the way the lineup is orchestrated, but they are so talented, and their staff is dominant. Hendricks, Lester, Darvish. Darvish has been pitching much, much better lately. This is a very, very good baseball team. Their bullpen is pretty damn solid now, and they're going to score a lot of runs come October. The Sox, on the other hand, have kind of started to show their true colors. Deep down inside me, I knew this was coming. They're just not there yet, and when you start to have injuries, I'm surprised we even held it together as much as we did. What's really interesting is the Jose Abreu quote that came out a few days ago. He got asked about missing Tim Anderson, and he said, absolutely, that hurts, but we need to deal with what we have here until the organization gives us a chance to bring the people up that can help us here. Thank you, Jose, for saying what we've all been thinking. Thank you. It's a weird time to kind of take a little shot at the front office with the deadline approaching. I really hope Jose Abreu doesn't get moved. I mean, would it be nice to grab a couple more prospects? Yes, but Jose Abreu is a staple to this baseball team, and I just don't think you can really replace him with prospects. I think, has Collins really proven himself? Are we really going to start him up at first base next year? I don't think so. Another interesting quote from Renteria a day ago said, I'm not down on my guys. We are going to keep playing and keep doing what we have to do to try to put ourselves back on track. Look, I get it. There's not really much you can say. This is a long season. There's going to be ups and downs. Renteria just gives me a little bit of that Robin Ventura feel, where he doesn't care enough. And maybe he does care. Maybe he really, really does care, and he has a different way of showing it. He just seems disengaged to me. He just seems to be going through the motions, and I get it, it's probably tough to stay motivated, but you have to be that motivator. You have to be that guy game in and game out, getting the guys ready to go, and some days they look so flat, and that's on them. They're getting paid millions of dollars to play this game, but they just look so flat, and you gotta wonder what kind of energy he's bringing. I saw a really interesting video yesterday of Aaron Boone he was kind of mic'd up, and you could hear everything, arguing with the umpire. He was going to war for his team, and he ended up getting thrown out, but I haven't seen anything like that, and you immediately seen the whole team get pumped up. That's what I would love to see, some goddamn energy from this team. That's what we're lacking. Moving on to the Bulls. I got a couple of questions from my Instagram that I asked you guys to ask me. Where will the Bulls end up this year? Standing prediction-wise? That is so tough for me because I could easily see them being like a 6th seed, and I could easily see them being like an 11th seed. If I have to lock myself into something, I'll say they are going to snag the 8th seed. I think if you look at our roster versus, say, Detroit's roster or the Orlando Magic's roster, I like ours more. I think we still have some things to prove, but a healthy Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen is a pretty powerful duo, and we kind of have a nice little team in place now. The thing that killed the Bulls most, as I talked about last episode, was bench depth. Thad Young, Satoransky are going to really improve that. And a really under-the-radar signing that I haven't talked about yet is Luke Kornet. I know per 36 minutes, they don't really average out. It's not a great stat. He has some great stats per 36 minutes. He's a stretch big, and everybody's like, oh, they're clowning in the comments. Bulls fans, you guys are ruthless because it's about small W's. When you win 22 games in one season, do you think we're going to go sign LeBron James in the offseason or Kevin Durant? No, it's a baby step process. They made good baby steps. Let me ask you this. Wendell Carter gets 2 early fouls. Do you want to see Cristiano Felicio coming into the basketball game? Because we lost Robin Lopez. No, I'll take a stretch big that can knock down a 3. That'll be great for Kobe White on the bench while he develops. That'll be great. Better than Felicio. I do think the Bulls can get the 8th seed. A playoff series versus a team like Boston or Philly or Milwaukee. We will obviously get the doors blown off of us, but I think even that will be a great learning experience for guys like Zach LaVine to see how it is when teams focus you as the number one option. It'll be a gauge to see if the Bulls, if Garpax is going to say, okay, we need to go get ourselves a superstar, even if we have to sacrifice some of what we built. I wouldn't hate that. Somebody asked me about Wendell Carter Jr. He showed flashes last year, and you got to keep in mind that he's a 19-year-old center facing grown men that have been in the league for 5 or 6 years. Some games, teams absolutely exploited that. Other games, he was able to hold his own. I think this year, as he develops more, I think you'll see him stay out of foul trouble more, which will just keep him on the court more. It's simple. But he had some great blocks last year. I'm sure everybody saw it, but that one block he had on Russell Westbrook was insane. I think he's going to be a premier shot blocker. I don't buy his jump shot. The numbers weren't really there. He didn't shoot it enough last year, and when he did, it wasn't really good. He seems to have... He's comfortable in the post. If I had to drop a stat line for him this year on what we need from him, honestly, we just need him to be like a 12 and 10 guy. 12 points, 10 boards, give us like a block here and there, and I think he does his job. I don't think he's going to be a star center in the NBA, but how often do you really find superstars at pick 7 where we've picked for the last 3 years? Another question I got from, I don't know who it was from, but predictions on the Bears offense. Their offense is going to be stacked. I think David Montgomery is a much better fit than Jordan Howard. He's a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. You look at weapons like Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Trubisky coming into his 3rd season. I think Nagy's going to kind of give Trubisky the keys to the offense a little bit and let him air it out, let him open it up. I think Cohen is going to see big numbers this year. I think Nagy's going to try to use him at every opportunity he gets, even if he's on the field the same time as David Montgomery. The thing that worries me about the Bears is we got that first place schedule, which is tough. And every single... Well, I don't know how much the Vikings really upgraded. I'd give their offseason like a C. But the Packers and the Lions both really upgraded. We'll start with the Lions. They bring in Trey Flowers. Did they overpay for him? Yes. But that adds a big-time player to their defense. The Packers, Adrian Amos, they brought in a couple pass rushers. That guy from Baltimore, I can't think of his name. Aaron Rodgers does not like to miss the playoffs, and he's going to come back with a vengeance looking to murder the Bears. I can't wait for opening week. That'll be an amazing game. I think the Bears are going to make the playoffs no matter what, and I do think they'll win the division, but both games versus the Packers are going to be extremely important because the Packers aren't going to be dropping games to bad teams next year. They won't. The Blackhawks made an interesting trade to send Anisimov to, I believe it was Ottawa. What I was told about the trade, like I said, I don't follow the Hawks as much as I should. I've been trying to get into it more. What I was told, it's a good cap dump. I think the guy's name is Zach Smith we brought in. Slightly a downgrade from Anisimov, but it saves us some money. So you know what? I clowned Bowman at first for it just because that was kind of what everybody was doing, and I trusted the comments. Never trust the comments. Never trust the comments. I promise you that, because everybody that takes the time to comment on your professional team's sports page is generally saying some negative ass shit. Like, they're generally saying, like, fuck Jerry Reinsdorf, you know, just shit like that. But I think it's a good move for the Hawks. I think they need to continue to dump money. I know Seabrook makes a stupid amount, and he's washed. Keith is still good, but we're talking about guys who are 34 and 35 years old. That's really getting up there. I really hope the Hawks can get back into the playoffs. When the Blackhawks were consistently making runs, that was such a fun time. I went to 2 different Hawks parades. I was younger then, and that was still some of the funnest shit of my life. The amount of people that just amassed downtown is nuts. Like, I even posted, our parade shit on St. Louis Blues parade times 7. Like, come on, St. Louis, you're pathetic. But congrats on the cup, I guess. It's cool. What did I want to get to? What did I want to get to? There was something important about... Oh, right. Back to the Bears. Khalil Mack very well could win Defensive Player of the Year this year. It may not happen, but I think he's going to come out and he's going to get off to the same start he did last year. He's going to be on a mission. This is still a guy he missed 2 games last year, and the stats he put up were crazy. And then he played 2 games that he probably shouldn't have, where his ankle wasn't 100%. If he stays healthy all year, he could easily win Defensive Player of the Year. It's not out of the realm of possibility at all. He is a force, and now we're going to line him up next to, again, just like last year, Akeem Hicks. Chuck Pagano said he wants to blitz more. If you're Kirk Cousins, if you're Aaron Rodgers, if you're Matthew Stafford, do you want to see Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan coming at your head? Because I don't. I don't at all. Oh, just throw it up, get rid of it? Eddie Jackson, pick 6. Ha Clinton Dix, Bama boys, pick 6. Our defense, it could take a step back because of what I talked about in last episode. I love Ha Clinton Dix, but Amos is just a better player. But hopefully Dix and Jackson can have that Alabama connection and just lock it down. The only thing I'm concerned about, I'm not a big Prince Amukamara guy. He makes a lot of money. He's kind of slow. I know he had a solid amount of interceptions last year, but I'm not the biggest Prince guy. I'm more of a Kyle Fuller guy who also makes a lot of money, but I think both guys played up to their checks last year. I just worry about both of them doing it again this year because they've never really been the most consistent players in the NFL. Talking about some things around the league in the NFL, I think a team that looks great on paper but is really, really going to struggle is the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are a team that really haven't had expectations for a long time. And now, trading for Odell, that puts a lot of expectations on you. And there's a lot of ego on that team. Baker, Odell, Jarvis Landry. Guys, I absolutely hate Colin Cowherd. But I do listen to his show in considerable amount, and he does bring up a good point about the Cleveland Browns. Of course it's going to work at first. It's the honeymoon phase. Everybody can make things work at first. Just like James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They'll work all through the regular season. Just wait till they're down 3-1 in the playoffs and see if it's still working then. Just wait till the Browns are down, say, 17-3 at halftime versus a bad football team. How's that locker room going to be? Can Freddie Kitchens, the interim offensive coordinator from last year, keep it together as a first-time head coach? Not a great signing by John Dorsey. I think you got to go get a guy that's been there and done that. What do you guys think? Should you guys think that Eli Manning should start, or should they just hand the keys over to Daniel Jones right away? Do you really pick a guy at 6 in the draft? What was it? That was 6, I believe, right? Yeah, 6. And then start Eli Manning? How long are you going to hold on to those 2 Eli Super Bowls? That's an interesting thing to talk about. I mean, Daniel Jones he did not look very good at Duke. Well, maybe they see something we don't. Hopefully they do. But I'll tell you this, Eli Manning has been washed for a long time now, and Giants fans are not going to be happy this year when they throw him out there. And then are you really going to get that much better by putting Daniel Jones in? I don't think so. Anyways, this summer's absolutely zipping by. Sox are starting to fall off the wagon. The Cubs are going to run away with the Central. I'm pumped for playoff baseball. I'm pumped for the Bulls to be back. Pumped for the Bears to be back. It's a pretty good time in Chicago right now. The Bulls, the arrow's pointing up. I think the Hawks could make the playoffs as a low seed next year. I think the Sox could make the playoffs not this year but next year. Cubs are going to be around. Bears are going to be around. I think every Chicago team is going to be good for the next few years here, and that's super exciting. Sports has the power to change everything. It's crazy. It's why I'm trying to build what I'm building. If you don't like sports, some people may say it's just a game, and that's cool, but me and other people who have grown up playing sports, watching sports, I just wonder, like, if you're not into sports, what you even do with your time. Like, I get it, people work, people are busy, but, like, at a time, there's gonna come a time where it's 7 o'clock and you don't have shit to do, no one's going out, you're home. Sports are the answer all the time. And I think sports are good for Chicago in general. You look at something like what Tim Anderson is doing with his League of Leaders. I'm actually donating, $1 for every stolen base and $3 for every home run he hits for the rest of the year to his foundation, League of Leaders. Don't get me wrong, that's probably going to amount to around like $50, if that. But imagine if everybody who could do something like that did it. Maybe the city wouldn't be in the shape it's in if we could all pitch in. Tim Anderson is 25, 26 years old, and look at the impact he's already having. His own foundation to where he's helping kids with everything. They're offering these kids their rides to school, haircuts. They're doing everything for these kids. And their scholarship money. And that's just him playing a professional sport, using the money he's made from that to put back into the community. It's out of Tuscaloosa where he's from. They work a lot in Chicago. If you guys have any couple dollars, go donate it to Legal Leaders. These kids, everybody needs a chance. Everybody needs a chance. I would go do it. Even if it's $3. Go donate $3. Why not? Tim Anderson, that's the impact I'm trying to have, is like to really be able to provide something like that. And sports can provide that. You look at so many companies that are just based on sports, or people who played professional sports, and they thrive. They thrive with helping communities out. Look at LeBron James. I know he's a huge figure, but the I Promise School, that shit is amazing. Man started his own school just from a game of basketball. It's incredible. I want to get back to the last question here, and it is kind of an important one. before we end it. Somebody asked, who is your favorite Chicago athlete of all time? Now, that is tough for me. I want to say Derrick Rose, but I can't because Devin Hester was the most electrifying player in history. I tell this story to anybody I can, and I was literally 6 years old, so I guess it doesn't really count because I probably predicted it every time. But I was watching the Super Bowl with my dad, and I told him Hester would take back the opening kick to the house. And as we all know, he took back the opening kick all the way. That was one of the most exciting times I can remember. I didn't even know what it meant yet because I was so young. And just seeing my dad and his friends just jump around, it was crazy. And you can go to YouTube right now and look up all of Hester's returns and just the emotion behind the announcers' voices. Like, so many times they can't even believe what's going on. By the time it got 3-4 years of him doing this, teams stopped kicking him and punting him the ball. They said, I want nothing to do with that. So definitely Devin Hester was my favorite athlete. I'll just go one by each sport. So the Bears, Devin Hester. The White Sox, Paul Konerko. Easily Paul Konerko. Blackhawks. I really liked Andrew Shaw because that's when I was watching them a lot, and he was just like an ass kicker. Wasn't like the best, most skillful player, but he was an ass kicker, and I could respect that. Let's go Bulls. Derrick Rose is the answer, but I'll tell you guys this. I was a huge, huge Luol Deng guy. I thought it was so cool how he never was selfish, never in anybody's way, just was the OG, original LeBron stopper, for one. And for two, this guy was a guy who was averaging like 17, 18 points his whole career with the Bulls, just flew under the radar while locking up on the other end. So I was a big Luol Deng guy, but yeah, Derrick Rose coming out of Simeon, being a Chicago kid, being the youngest MVP, he's got to be the answer. Cubs, I'll even do the Cubs as much as I hate the Cubs. This is tough. I'm sorry, Cubs fans. I'm thinking of a lot of different players that I do like. I'm just trying to think of. I'll go a guy from the current team right now, Rizzo. Last night I saw a thing that he hit that grand slam and he said it was for a kid with cancer who's 9 years old. Like, again, going back to what I said, sports absolutely has the power to change the world. I love seeing shit like that. I think Rizzo has an awesome, just his swinging motion, his stroke of his swing is so pure. It's awesome to watch. And every time the Sox play him, I feel like he's the guy that, like, if you throw him a fastball middle in, he's gonna crank it. A former player on the Cubs I actually liked a lot was Carlos Zambrano. I liked seeing him like demolish water jugs and shit. It's pretty interesting. He's actually in the middle of trying to make an MLB comeback right now, so we'll see how that goes. Did I cover every team? Yeah, I did. So guys, this was a little bit of a shorter one. I didn't really have any notes. Shit got pushed back. I had one recorded and the file got corrupted. It was supposed to be out last night. It wasn't. So I kind of just tried to throw this together today before I got to go get out of here, do some dumb errands. Really appreciate you guys listening. This shit is only going to get better. Please follow the Instagram, subscribe to the podcast, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Again, I know it wasn't really the best episode, but I'm just trying to bring you guys that content for now. Next Monday, it's going to be fire. I'm going to drop more questions for you guys to ask me, and I'll see you then. Subscribe, thumbs up.